Alrighty guys, it is Qaaman here today, and I'm bringing you another Dragon Ball Z segment discussing the biggest news, and call it subjective, the biggest news in the history of Dragon Ball. Because I am here to tell you guys that it has been announced from several sources that Dragon Ball will be getting its first animation series for the first time in 18 years since Dragon Ball GT. And I am joined by two special guests today, Jaxblade and Johnny Lipships. And to start this discussion off, I'd just like to say that Jax informed me first on this news. So Jax, would you like to start off by telling us how you found out about this and everything along those lines?
Oh, of course, man. Thank you for having me, though, Qaaman, back here. But I was just on my Facebook this morning, just going about doing my little morning routine, and I saw a little link from Kotaku that said Dragon Ball's back, and I was just like, this is probably one of those late April Fool's jokes, haha. So I click on it, and I'm like, yo, and I just start looking at various sources to make sure it's actually legit. And then as soon as I figured out, I actually started tearing up, and I said it to everyone I could, because like as many people know, like Dragon Ball Z is the main reason I work out, main reason I started doing martial arts and all that jazz, because when I was a chubby anime fanboy getting beaten up daily by bullies, stuff like that, for wearing the shirts, this is like an old friend coming back to me. I mean, I could be inspired by it so much, but I'm just so ecstatic that it's finally back. And I had to share it with all my fellow Dragon Ballers, as it were.
Well, Johnny Lipships, I know you just heard this recently too, but tell me your thoughts on how you think.
I mean, I'm pretty excited for it. I'm hoping that it's better than GT. Anything's better than GT. The movie's pretty good, you know what I'm saying? The movies is coming out, and I seen a little preview of the movie that Vegeta was kicking Frieza around. So stuff like that. If it's anything like that kind of stuff, then, you know what I'm saying, I'm ready for it.
Well, according to this news here, it's been announced on several different sources that Toriyama will be actually handling this movie himself, and I think this makes a lot for the series. And you know, for all of you who are watching this video, I just wanted to say that there's going to be some discrepancies, because a lot of people might say, well, what does this mean for the show being canon? Is this kind of like taking a wink at GT and kind of ignoring it? Because from what it's been said, this series is supposed to take place in the peacetime after Goku defeats Majin Buu, essentially in that 10-year gap. So they can do whatever they want. Now, I'm not 100% sure, and it's not been directly confirmed if this is going to take place after Battle of Gods and Fukatsu no F. But it just says it's going to take place after Goku defeats Majin Buu. Jax, do you have any news regarding that?
I think it takes place because it was at the Fukatsu no F panel, and they announced stuff there. I think that is going to take place after it, so they're going to be having blue Super Saiyans all flying around. I ain't calling it that dumb name, okay, but they're going to having those blue Super Saiyans going around to town fighting, you know, probably deities and gods. Remember, there are 12 universes out there, so maybe they're going to go explore those in the series, so that'd be rather interesting to see. I mean, he's got a whole 10-year... Wait, how many years? It was 3 years after, so 10-year gap in the between. So maybe we get to see Baby Oob. Hopefully not. Hopefully he's just gonna remake that ending, because my feelings on the ending of Dragon Ball Z, I absolutely refuse to watch it. Besides that little filler episode, he's always late. That's where Dragon Ball Z originally ended for me. But I really hope it just takes place before that and after, you know, that ending.
Well, the thing is, Jax, is in terms of timing, like I've said, you can squeeze in a lot in that gap, especially because, you know, he essentially opened the floor up with all of those other universes. But my question is, if he were to change the ending to Dragon Ball Z, that would probably confuse a lot of fans. Because I personally, and I'll be honest with you guys, I love the fact that we're getting a new series, but I am really opposed to kind of scrapping the original ending just because it's not well received. Because now you're going to start confusing fans, and now there's going to be so many discrepancies between what's canon or not canon, and a lot of people you know, who a lot of subscribers who've been messaging me on Facebook about this already were saying that they think that if this ending were to change, and we don't know for sure, that would cause a lot of discrepancies about GT, specifically because that would essentially mean that Toriyama wants no connection to GT, because if he's scrapping the ending with Oob, that means he wants nothing that continued with Oob into GT, and I think that's a big confusing plot line for anybody who would have watched the original series. But Johnny, what do you think about that as an ending for a whole? Do you think that it would be good for him to basically scrap the ending and just start fresh, or just kind of try to squeeze everything into the 10-year gap?
Well, it all depends. Well, first of all, you think they're gonna keep Super Saiyan God in it or what?
I'm pretty sure.
You sure? Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I like the idea that they're trying to start over, because I really didn't like how Dragon Ball Z ended, to be honest. I just don't like it. I mean, like, it could have had so much more action in it, but then they just skipped so much time over. Like, they could have done so much more after Majin Buu. They could have had a new villain. They could have had. They just showed Trunks grown up, and you know what I'm saying, all the way to Trunks was grown up. How many years they skipped by? 10. Yeah, that's too much time wasted, man. They could have showed a lot of stuff since then.
Well, that's kind of what these two movies have done, and I kind of see your point, Johnny, that actually, Johnny, that's a really good point, because these movies are kind of already filling in what you're describing, like all the things in between. So, in a weird way, Johnny, even though Dragon Ball Z already officially had its ending, it's kind of good now that they're going in between, because now we can fill up a lot of things that happened that were not really well explained. And one thing that's going to be a little different is if you look at Goku and Vegeta at the end of Z, they, you know, obviously Goku changed his appearance. You know, he had like those pre-GT clothes, and, you know, Pan was obviously a toddler. And there was a lot of changes about the series as a whole, and I feel that if they do go that route and still end up with Oob, I think we can kind of accept it, and maybe you could just say, you know, Goku just decided to stay in his base form, and whatever happens after that happens. Whether you accept GT or not, that's up to you, but I think you can just end it there by just squeezing it in between. But, you know, I wanted to get you guys' opinion on, you know, the actual title of the show. It's called Dragon Ball Cho, and, you know, as if you guys watch the actual anime versions, and if you actually watch like the Japanese depictions of the anime, like whenever Goku did, like if you watch that Hachiak movie, A Plan to Eradicate the Saiyans, the original one, when Goku shoots his Kamehameha, he says Cho Kamehameha, which means super. And honestly, I think the name Dragon Ball Super is kind of corny, in my honest opinion. And I'm loving the idea of the new show, but in terms of the actual show, though, one thing that I really wanted to touch upon before we close this out is, what do we think they're gonna do? Now, they've said that this is gonna take place at the time when the Earth is peaceful, so how do you guys think they're gonna write in new villains? Now, I'm not trying to give a major spoiler, but if you watch Rhymestall's videos, and I'm not gonna say it for those of you who don't want the spoiler for Fukatsu no F, but there's a huge hint that there's gonna be there was gonna be a continuation based off of what happened at the end of Fukatsu no F, according to Rhymestall. And because of that, I feel like they're gonna create a lot of villains from the actual Dragon Ball multiverse theory to actually come in. But then again, there comes a question as to whether or not these villains are really going to be bad, because Beerus is not necessarily a bad guy. I'm curious to see how they're going to write these villains in, and I'm sure he's going to do a great job, because we know this, we're going to have to accept this as, you know, I'm pretty even though it hasn't been directly stated, it's pretty clear that there's probably going to be a manga for this, considering the fact that they wrote a manga, you know, for Fukatsu no F, at least a partial version of Fukatsu no F, and I'm sure if Toriyama's going to go through this again, he's going to create a manga. But then again, it is possible that he might just create an anime adaptation, considering the fact that this is set to air this July, and July's pretty close. If you think about creating a new anime, in terms of creating a new anime series and, you know, writing a whole manga, that's pretty close, unless they've already had this plan for a long time and they're just releasing it to us. So, well, yeah, well, I'll just also mention this really quick. The reason why it's called Dragon Ball Super, as I was reading here, it's called Dragon Ball Super because of the fact that the word Cho is used in a lot of commercials that are dealing with Dragon Ball. So that's essentially why they chose the title, even though it's pretty corny, if you ask me. Well, guys, let's close this out. Johnny, what are your overall thoughts on this? Are you super excited? Were you shocked? And how do you think, you know, this will turn out? Do you think this is going to be good? Because, you know, honestly, there might be some people who oppose this. You know, I mean, I'm sure there would be in the minority, but there's probably a lot of people who would probably feel that, you know, Dragon Ball is something that's been done and we should, you know, obviously, you know, move on. What do you say, Johnny?
But other than that, I think that Akira Toriyama about to pull a lot of stuff out of his butt, man. I think he about to create some strong villains out of nowhere. Only villains I can imagine that could be as strong as this Super Saiyan God stuff is like just using more God of Destruction. That's pretty much it. Because I can't see all these new villains just coming out of nowhere unless they just make it make sense. But you know what I'm saying? Like all these strong villains being strong as Super Saiyan 3 and Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Super God, whatever it's called. But other than that, yeah, that's pretty much it. All I got to say on that.
Yep. Okay, well, my thoughts are they're probably going to go with, since the series, if it takes place after the Battle of Gods of Katsunev, since Beerus did say that there were 12 universes and then there are probably people much stronger, they're probably just going to get people from those universes, or Goku will probably go exploring those type of universes to see if there's anyone who can challenge his new form, and then there'll be new conflicts, and then, you know, Vegeta can finally spar with Goku since they both are training with Wiz, and I'm just really looking forward to the series, and I'm going to kick up my training hardcore now even more, so I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, I was a fat boy last time I saw you, Dragon Ball, but now I'm a big buff man, I'm going to get my training on, so yeah, really have, workouts for this.
Well, I'll just close it out by saying, guys, that I think it does a lot for all of the Dragon Ball Z community, the video games, everything, and it's so funny, Jax, that a couple months ago, and I'm sure you remember Johnny Lipships, when I did that video with Black and Fist, Are We in the Dragon Ball Renaissance, we mentioned that we might, you know, get this, we might get a new series, and we said that would basically be like the icing on the cake, and we're getting a new series. So guys, this is the best part in history for Dragon Ball fans of all ages, and we all know Dragon Ball spans a very, very large range of ages. I mean, considering the fact that we got Xenoverse, which is booming as a game, considering the fact that we got Battle of Gods, we got Fukatsu no F, we're getting all of these new games being created, and now we're getting a new series. There's nothing more that we could possibly ask for Dragon Ball, and all I gotta say, guys, is just watch Fukatsu no F. If you can spend a couple bucks to watch it, please support, and, you know, really appreciate what Toriyama's doing, because honestly, I remember I read somewhere that Toriyama, as much as he loves Dragon Ball Z, he doesn't want to only be known for Dragon Ball Z. And I can definitely relate to that. But as much as Toriyama loves Dragon Ball Z, you know, he wanted to work a lot on his other arts. And now I really appreciate that Toriyama's really, really dedicating himself to going back to his craft. And honestly, at the end of the day, guys, I think this is the best news ever. This is probably a remedy for me to go back to study for finals. And, you know, what news this was, the biggest news in history, and I hope you guys enjoy. We had a nice long discussion here. I'll link Johnny Lipships and Jaxblade in the description, and I hope you guys enjoyed. So most importantly, over everything else, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe, and remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys. And remember, guys, that Johnny Lipships is out of this bitch.